Welcome to Brian's Briefing, part of the Brian Nichols Show. I'm Brian Nichols, and in these focused episodes, I dive into key issues, ideas, and principles that shape our world. No frills, no fluff, just straight talk on matters that count. Now, let's get started. Why do libertarians keep losing the messaging war, even when so many Americans say they want something beyond Team Red and Team Blue? I mean, think about it. Every poll shows people are fed up with the two-party system. A majority of Americans tell Gallup year after year that we need a real third option. That's not a fringe idea anymore. That's mainstream frustration, and yet, libertarian candidates still struggle to break through, even in years when voters are practically begging for another choice. In 2016, the libertarian ticket hit about 3.28%, somewhere in there, of the national vote, which was their best showing ever, but it still came nowhere close to mainstream impact. So what's going on here? Well, I'll give you my blunt answer. We keep selling, as libertarians, the ism instead of selling solutions. Normal people don't wake up craving a new ideology. They wake up worrying about rent, groceries, gas, safety, their kids' schools, and if our pitch starts with philosophy instead of kitchen table fixes, we lose, even when our principles are right. See, for today's episode, we're going to talk about how libertarians can actually start winning people over. We're going to walk through how to speak human, start with real problems, show tangible outcomes, and use stories and values, not just stats and books, to make the point. We're going to be focusing on some big hot button issues like immigration, inflation, crime, education, and I'm going to show you how to frame liberty so it connects with normal people fast. And we'll be calling back to a few friends we've had here on the show, people like firearms instructor Alicia Garcia, who does an incredible job of meeting people where they are. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Too often, libertarians sound like this. Oh, let me explain the non-aggression principle, fractional reserve banking, and why taxation is theft. Now look, I love a good policy nerd out, but most people hear that and think, cool story, bro, but how does that help me keep my small business open or my kids safe? See, we're talking features instead of benefits. We've got to flip the script. Lead with pain that people feel and the outcome our ideas deliver. Don't open with, well, we need to privatize your child's education. No, open with, your child deserves a school that fits them, not some one-size-fits-all government bureaucracy. Let's fund students, not systems. Sounds a little different, huh? Don't start with, end the Fed. No, start with, your paycheck buys less because Washington has printed and spent like crazy. So inflation hit a 40-year high. Let's stop the money games and protect your dollar. And by the way, tone matters. If we sound cold, condescending, or like purity police, we're going to lose trust instantly. Because politics isn't a debate club. It's sales and storytelling. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So show it. And you've probably heard the phrase, facts don't care about your feelings. Ben Shapiro. But sure, people vote with both head and heart. That means we've got to bring receipts and stories. So here's a quick example. Inflation peaked at 9.1% in June of 2022. That's a 40-year high. That's a stealth tax on families, but rather than just reciting that number, tell the story. Hey, your grocery bill jumped to $120 a month. That's soccer cleats that you couldn't buy for your kids. And then bridge it to a solution. So, hey, let's stop the printing press and let's actually start trying to, balance budgets like families have to do every single day. And when you say it that way, people nod because they feel it, they get it. You've validated the pain, you've named the cause, and you've offered tangible, liberty-based solutions in normal plain language. Another big issue, by the way, is that libertarians sometimes sound like we live in a fantasy world instead of this real one, right? If your plan sounds like ripping the rug out from under people, they're going to tune you out before you even finish the sentence. We can keep our North Star and still take practical steps to get there. So don't say, oh yeah, we got to abolish everything tomorrow. No, say, hey, let's phase change in, protect current retirees, give people real choices so no one's getting crushed. Don't just say open the borders, goofball libertarians. Say, hey, legal, orderly immigration that respects property rights and the rule of law, and actually welcome workers to follow that process. Reality beats utopia every single time. And if you put that into practice, you're going to talk about some hot button issues for sure, like immigration. We've got to talk about property rights and order, not open borders. Because words matter. Open borders sounds like chaos. And most people want compassion with control. That feels like Joe Rogan. But a fair system that respects property law and safety is absolutely ideal. So a liberty message that wins sounds more like, well, we should fix legal immigration so peaceful, hardworking people can come through the front door quickly, transparently, and without massive amounts of paperwork. We should secure the border against trespassing and trafficking because property rights and safety do matter. And if a business or community is ready to sponsor a worker, then the government shouldn't be the bottleneck. See, that's pro-human and pro-order, and it fits libertarian principles perfectly. And by the way, it also gives people an emotional anchor. Picture the dad who did everything right. He filled out all the paperwork. He's paid all the fees. He's waited years. And now he's stuck behind a broken system that rewards people who cut in line? What? See, when you tell his story, people get it. Second, inflation and the economy. Don't lead with the Federal Reserve, lead with families. Your paycheck buys less because Washington printed trillions and spent like there's no tomorrow, because to most of them, there isn't. We hit a 40-year high in inflation because both parties treat your money like monopoly money. So let's stop it. Let's live within our means. Families do it every month. Why isn't government doing it too? And then outline a fix in plain English. Stop the printing, stop the reckless spending, simplify our taxes, and cut red tape that's strangling small businesses. See, it's plain English. When businesses can grow, they can compete for workers, and then wages will go up naturally. That's real world liberty that makes life better. And remember, a majority of Americans already want a new political home because the two major parties keep failing basic economics for working people. And that's a huge opportunity for libertarians if we talk like normal humans. Third, crime and policing. And this one's tricky because libertarians often get branded as soft on crime. So we talk reform, but we don't always lead with safety. And the message has to start like this. We libertarians want safer neighborhoods too, but we want fair treatment for everyone. See, those two things go hand in hand. When you lead that way, reforms make sense. End the drug war that turns addicts into criminals and fuels violent cartels. Focus police resources on real threats, murder, assault, theft, not petty victimless offenses. It's like what happened back in Camden, New Jersey, when they rebuilt their department around community policing and saw trust and safety both improve. That's not perfect yet, but it's a step in the right direction. And on self-defense, tell real stories. Remember that Greenwood Park shooting that happened here in Indiana? Is the mall shooting a few years back? There's a 22-year-old law-abiding citizen who stopped a mass shooter in seconds. That's liberty, saving actual people's lives. When Alicia Garcia joined me on the show, she talked about empowering women and vulnerable people to protect themselves. And she said gun rights aren't about politics. They're about survival and confidence. Maj Toure of Black Guns Matter, he preaches that same message in cities across the country. Education, de-escalation, and self-reliance. That right there is liberty in real life, not theory. Again, do you see the difference? And that brings us to education, because if there's one issue every parent feels personally, it's their kids' schooling. Libertarians usually talk about privatization or vouchers, but the message that wins hearts and minds is simple. Parents first. Your child deserves a school that fits them. So we talk about education savings accounts or ESAs. Let parents use their share of education funding to choose what program works best for their kids. Public, private, let the parent choose. Arizona went universal with ESAs, and it's exploding in popularity because families finally have options. It's like the old lending tree story. When schools compete, you win. Or in this case, families win. And when families win, quality will raise for everyone across the country. And choice diffuses cultural wars, by the way. So instead of national fights over what every single kid should be taught, let the parents pick the environment that matches their values. If you love your local public school, great, stay. That's awesome. If you don't, you have freedom to move. That's peaceful pluralism at work. So here's the bottom line for this short episode. Libertarians keep losing, not because liberty is weak, but because our delivery sucks. We preach labels instead of solving problems. We lead with lectures instead of listening. We shoot for utopia and then ignore the next practical step people can actually take. But we can fix that. Speak human. Start with pain. Promise a clear outcome and then show proof that it actually works. Keep the North Star, but walk people there one step at a time. And by the way, if you believe liberty helps real people, you owe them a message that they can actually hear. That's not selling out, folks. That's just doing your job as an effective communicator. And when we do it well, we will find there are allies everywhere, voters just begging for another option. And that's not a fluke. That's a market signal. They want common sense that respects their paychecks and their freedom. If we answer that call with human-first messaging, liberty will start to win. And look at the examples, like on immigration, pair compassion with order and property rights. Invite good people through the front door. Stop chaos at the back. On inflation, connect the dots between government printing and your grocery bill, and then show how fiscal restraint actually helps working families. Or on crime, demand both safety and fairness. Protect people's rights and get dangerous criminals off the street. On education, put parents in control and fund students, not systems. Somewhere Corey DeAngelis is smiling. See, this is what we try to do every week on the Brian Nichols Show. We take politics out of the ivory tower and put it back on the kitchen table. And some of the guests I talked about, like Alicia Garcia and Maj Touré, they've proven that this exam. And some past guests like Alicia Garcia and Maj Touré prove it's possible. They're out there showing neighbors that getting safer communities and getting stronger and getting government out of the way is possible. And that's liberty that works. So here's my challenge to every libertarian, every candidate, every activist. Next time you're tempted to lead with the label, with the ism, don't. Lead with the life it improves. So ask questions that make people see their own pain points, and then hand them a simple, credible path out. Because freedom, it's an easy sell when you sell it like you actually care about the person across from you. So folks, if this episode hits home, please go ahead and give it a share. And when you do, tag yours truly at B Nichols Liberty. And by the way, if you've got a story where a liberty-based solution actually made your life better, send it on over. I want to feature those kind of wins here in the show. So with that being said, thank you for tuning in to today's episode, though it was short, of the Brian Nichols Show. Remember, freedom works. Now, let's just go out and prove it. This is Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at briannicholsshow.com.